This is a detailed tutorial of literally everything you need to know to set up leads, to deals, to projects, to tasks inside of Monday.com. So an entire walkthrough from start to finish, the entire setup. This is going to be a very long video, so apologies in advance. By the way, if you'd like us to help you set up Monday.com for your business, check out the link in the description below. Anyway, as you can see here, I'm inside of my example Monday.com system. Now, I'm using Monday Sales CRM for this. It doesn't matter too much. Just follow along and it will all make sense. But to begin with, we are going to start with the leads board. Okay, so we are walking through the entire process from start to finish, as in someone new shows interest in what you have to offer, all the way to them being a project and the tasks associated with that project, depending on the task type, and so on and so forth. So the entire walkthrough, this is a full system setup. So first board that we're going to go ahead and create is going to be our leads board. Okay, privacy options are entirely up to you. I'm going to leave mine as main, and then on this board we are going to be managing leads, and then I'm just going to go ahead and press create board. So the leads area in any system is kind of like a dumping ground. This is where we're going to chuck any data that we think is potentially relevant and could at some point in the future result in a deal or a sale of some description. So that might be opt-ins on Facebook, people that you meet at events. It literally could be anything. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to want to do is set up our groupings in kind of what I would describe as the lead process. Okay, now I'll keep mine relatively simple. Your lead process can be slightly more complicated, but it is important to distinguish between leads and deals, and I will come on to the difference later in the video. So we'll have new leads at the top. So every lead that's just been created will sit in the new leads area. I'm then going to go ahead, click in, just change that to the gray. Then we'll have active leads. So these are obviously leads that are active. People are actively working on them, whether that's conversing with them, having conversations, etc., etc., etc. And then we would have another group. This would be qualified leads. And then we would have unqualified leads. Cool. So leads come into the system. Like I say, they can come in through various different channels, and either you're ultimately working to one, qualify or unqualify them. So are they qualified? Typically they are interested in your product or service. They can afford your product or service. They are the right fit for your product or service. Essentially, to qualify a lead, the best framework is something called BANT. So budget, authority, need, and timing. So do they have the budget? Do they have the authority? Do they have need? And is it going to be now, or are they looking in like 11 million years time as an example? Okay. Now with these lead stages, you could have a couple more in between new and active. I wouldn't go as far as to say have like contact step 1, contact 2, contact 3. That just gets really messy. But you might have new, active, working and active might be two different things. I keep it as simple as this. And then what I would do is just make sure that our status column matches our groupings. Okay, so we would have new, then we would have active, and then we would have qualified, and we would have up the top here unqualified as well. So new, active, qualified, and or unqualified. It's not going to be and, it's going to be or. So those are the different stages of our lead process. Let me just put this in the purple here. Cool. So now we've kind of got the very basic setup. The next thing that I would look to do personally is I just want to track some data associated with my lead, and this is going to be useful information later on as we set up deals and then onto projects and then tasks as well. So this for me would be date created. Okay, so I would use the existing date column that's populated when you create a new board and just change that to date created. I'd also add another date column, and this would be called date un/qualified. So this is the day in which the lead was either qualified or unqualified. Either or, it doesn't matter. Okay, and then what we want to do is just create a formula column. And then this formula column is going to work out the difference in days between the date created and the date un/qualified. So give me the difference in days between date created and date un/qualified, and hit enter. So now that is loaded, I'm just going to go ahead and press insert. This is the formula it gave me, which is correct. And then I would probably call this something like TTC. I would then hide the column summary, and I would also just restrict the column editing as well. I would also do the same for the other date columns. I don't want people interfering with the data we have in these date columns, okay? So now we've got the very basic framework of the leads board setup. What I would then look to do is automate. So When status changes to new, move item to group new. When item created, set date created to today. So let's just run through those quickly. Automate top right hand corner, manage, create automation. Then when item is created, we're going to set the date created to today. Cool. Very simple to begin with. And then we need to run through the different status change options. So when status changes to new, move item to group, new, create automation. Again, going to have to do this for all of them. So when status changes to active, move item to group, active. And then when status changes to qualified, we need to do two things. So when status changes to qualified, we're going to move the item to the group qualified, and also set date qualified to today as well. So date /qualified. So now we know that that was the day in which that particular lead was /qualified. I would then also do exactly the same thing for when status changes to unqualified, move item to group unqualified, and also set date. And in this case, going to be date /qualified to today as well. Okay. So those are all of the automations to begin with. So if I change this to unqualified, change this to active, I'll change this to qualified, change this to active. I mean, they're not going to go anywhere. If I change that to active and then to new, that will then go up to new. Change this to unqualified, that should go down there. You kind of get the idea now. So all of the automations will run. Hopefully, anyway. Maybe Monday's a little bit slow this morning, as am I. Hence why I've got 2 coffees sat next to me. But you can see the automations are working, admittedly, a bit slowly. So the next thing that we want to track on our leads area is essentially all... Why has that happened? When status changes to unqualified, have I made a... When status move, I don't know what's happened. Monday just being a bit slow, I guess. If I just hit refresh on here, this might sort itself out. There you go. Seems to have sorted itself out somewhat. So like I was saying, the next thing that we need to look for, or at least track on the leads area, is a lead related information. So this is pretty simple to begin with. We'd probably have an email, a phone number. We would probably have, and this is a critical point to note with leads, that all company related information and individual related information sits on one line. It's the one line item within Monday. Okay. So we would have, let's take myself just as an example here. So Nick Boardman, and then we would have Nick at crmcrew.com, and then phone number as well. And then also we would probably have another text column, and this would be company name. Okay. And then that would be, let's say, CRM Crew Limited as an example, right? So then I would go ahead, just put that there. So we've then got personal information and company related information all in one area. Other data points that I would track in my situation would be, let's say, company size. So I would want to know the size of the company. It's going to let me company size, hit enter. And then what I would do is I could add different company size options. So 1 to 3 employees, 4 to 10 employees, 4 to 10 employees, and so on and so forth. So I can add my options here as I need to. Again, other data points that you probably will want to track is going to be more dependent on you and what you need to collect from a lead. What data do you collect from a lead, etc., etc. So I'll just move this here. Now, one other thing that I would strongly recommend doing is tracking a source. So status, and then this would be the source. Now, dependent on how specific and or non-specific you can be is, I suppose, dependent on your tracking. But at minimum, I would want to know, let's say, Meta ads. I would want to know YouTube ads. And this shouldn't be hard to set up, really, especially if you're using separate funnels. And then I'll go YouTube organic as an example. It could be a referral. It could be an affiliate. So we've got our source options here. This is important as well because we can then look at the performance of our sources down the line on our deals as well. So we have that information available to us if we need it. Well, we would want to use it, right? So this could be Meta ads and they're 1 to 3 employees. It could be YouTube ads, 4 to 10. It could be 1 to 3, and this could be an affiliate that was sent to us. You get the idea, right? So now we're tracking more and more data associated with the company, the lead itself, the person, and then again we can add further information if we need to. This is going to be more dependent on what you need to track as a business as well. So if there are any other data points you want to look at and you want to track, again, I suggest you just click into here, have a scan through, have a look through, see if there's anything that you need or is of any particular interest to you. This is the basics to get started anyway, and then you can expand on this. So once a lead is then qualified and it passes the lead criteria, then it becomes a deal. A deal or an opportunity, whatever you want to call it, is the actual sales process. Now there is confusion between leads and deals, in the sense that some people seem to think that the leads area is the sales process. It's not. The leads area is just the qualification process to make sure that the person that you are going to be talking to or handing over to the salesperson can afford, is suitable, is not a waste of their time, essentially. So leads is a dumping ground. All data goes here. It's like a filter, and only the information that's useful, the qualified leads, gets filtered through onto our deals area. Now with a deal, typically as well, we would have a contact record and an account record. So we are going to be creating those in this video as well. Lucky you, eh? One thing I do want to note on here though, is we need a unique reference of some description to be able to automatically associate the contact, the account, and the deal with one another when a lead is qualified. And I'll come on to what that automation looks like in a moment, but I will refer back to the options we have available. But to begin with, let's just go ahead and set up, let's say first, our accounts board. So accounts are businesses. You could call them companies, you can call them whatever you like. I'm going to go ahead and then press create board. You can also have you will also want a contacts board, so another board here, and this is going to be contact. So every contact is going to be associated with a company, and then we're going to create a means of doing that in a moment, and then we'll go ahead and press create board. So I'll create a contacts board, naming convention contact or contacts plural, and then we need our deals board as well. So one more board, and this is going to be our deals board, and then on this board we are managing, of course, deals. Okay, so let's just run through and set up contacts and accounts first, as they're relatively easy to do. So on, let's say, the account side of things, all I want to do is map the data that I have that's account related to my accounts board, which in this instance is really, really simple. So I can go ahead and I can delete the group. I would only really have one group for accounts, all accounts. It's not a processing sense, it's just the place to store data. Okay, I'd get rid of the files column unless we need that for any particular reason. I would then just change the date column to date created. Again, I just want to know when the account was created, and then I can go ahead and restrict the column editing. And then the data that we want to track, we could probably even use this status column as it's not being used currently. So we'd have 1, 2, 3 employees. And then I think it was 4 to 10 employees as the different employee options that we had. Obviously, you're going to have more, right? But if I just select that. But I've only set up those two for the time being, just to give you an example as to what I am referring to. Now, if there are other data points that you want to track as well, you can do, of course. So if you've got, let's say, the company niche or industry, for instance, then you can, and that's tracked on the leads area, you can then obviously map that data point over to the accounts area. So I would then go ahead and just hide the column summary on here. And then obviously the name is going to be CRM Crew Limited. We have the company size. I don't think there's anything else. You could map over source if you wanted to. I would argue that the source is more applicable on the deal size side of things, deal side, but let's add it nonetheless. So let's just add source, and I'll leave it blank because it will just map correctly anyway. So we've got those different data points available. So the only thing that I then do is just go automate, manage, create automation. When an item is created, then we'll set date created to today automatically. So now I can see the date in which my account was created. So now we have that set up. I'm just going to delete these because I don't want this to ruin our demo later on in the video. So now we'll move over to contact. So again, same principle applies with contacts. We don't need a lot. So we've got all contacts group up the top here. There we go. Date created, again. People take the mick out of me for always doing this, but I think it's worth doing. So you've got date created, and then you just need data points that are associated with the contact record. It's that simple, right? So if I go to my leads area, I need email, phone. You might have source again, and you might have first name and last name split as well. So let's just add all of that. So email, this is easy. Phone as well, we would add. There we go. Then text column, I might have on here, I might have first name, and then I could have last name as well. Now, the best way to do this is just using AI. So we would go last name. So it would be, and I'll move that if it's going to let me down here. I don't need the files column. I don't think I need a status column either. Actually, we're using this for source, aren't we? So I'll just add that there and then select those two options. I'll hide the column summary and then I'll move that across. So what I would do is first name, last name, 3 dotted button on the last name, go to autofill this column, which is under AI powered actions, extract text, and then the text that I'm looking to extract, this info is going to be in this case, the last name from the input being the contact name, and just press save and apply. And then I'll do exactly the same, or nearly exactly the same, extract text, extract this info, first name from the input name being the contact name, and just press save, save and apply, and then that should populate. So now if I change this to Nick Boardman, in theory anyway, these two should update. So I'm just going to delete these two, just give you an idea. This should then update. Boardman Nick, cool, that works. And then I'm just going to go ahead and delete this. Again, I don't want this messing with our demonstration when we convert a lead to an account, a contact, and a deal. Now, one other thing that we do need to do is we need to connect contacts to accounts. So we need a way of associating a contact record with an account record. The way to do this is just press the plus button and you want to search for connect boards. And then you want to go ahead and connect your contacts board to your accounts board. So go ahead and press select boards, then just select accounts, and just please make sure you press create a two-way connection and then hit connect boards. And then this is the account singular associated with the contact record. If I then go to my accounts board, because we press create a two-way connection, you can see that the contacts has then also mapped, and I would be able to see all of the contacts associated with this particular account. There we go. So just drag that and reposition that over there. So now we've sorted that out, we want to focus on our deals. Leads pretty much done. Accounts done. Contacts done. Again, this is really, really simple, but hopefully you get the idea, right? Now we need to look at our actual sales process. So this is from a lead being qualified to a deal being either won or lost. So same kind of process, new deals. So these are new deals that have been added. We would have active deals. I would go in negotiation deals. I would then probably go, let's say, in contract deals. I would then go awaiting payment deals as an example. Payment deal. I'm just kind of thinking through what our process would look like. And obviously it's going to be different to yours, so you can think through how it would apply to yours. And then we would have close won deals. And then finally we would have close lost deals. Now you will note here, again, I'm using the groupings as part of the process. This is crucial that you do this, because this allows you to report very, very easily within Monday.com. So in negotiation deals, we go in contract deals, and that could be in the blue there. Awaiting payment deals, that's gold. And then we go green, won, close lost, red. Cool. So those are our different stages of our sales pipeline. You can see how this is different to the leads pipeline as well. Leads, we're just qualifying, and then once a lead is qualified, a new deal is created, and they go through the actual sales process thereafter. So new deal to active, so that'd be new to like new deal or upcoming meeting deals, and then completed meeting deals, and then you can have in proposal deals. Let's put that actually in proposal deals. So now we've got a group set up. Let's just set up the status column as well. Again, it's all the same once you've done it a few times. So we've got new, and then in proposal, and then we've got in negotiation. What I would do is just make sure you leave the green for close won, and also the red for close lost. Then we go in contract. We would go awaiting payment. We would then go close won, or just one, and then I'll go lost up here as well, lost. So new to proposal sent maybe, might be, I don't know why I wrote in proposal sent, there we go. And then I'll just change that to the purple. Awaiting payment can be in gold. The in contract's already right in terms of color. So then we got new, proposal sent, in negotiation is what we're missing. In negotiation. There we go, just put that there. So proposal sent, in negotiation, which I would change that to that color, and then in contract, awaiting payment, won or lost. Obviously, by the way, the colors do not matter in the slightest, but to me they do. So you don't have to be as pernickety as I'm being regarding the colors. But now we've kind of set up our status options, and then obviously our groupings as well. The next thing that I would usually look to do, again, date created with the date columns, and then I would add another date column, and this would be date closed. So this would obviously account for whether it's won and or lost. And then I would have another formula, and this is going to be the give me the difference in days between date created and date closed. Now, this is one of two formulas that I would recommend we track here. So we'll insert this set formula. We call this TTC. So this is the time to close a deal. Okay, really important that we note this, because also I'm going to add another date column. This is going to be date lead created. This is going to pull from our leads board. Okay, and then what I want to do is add another formula, and then this is going to give me the difference in days between, give me the difference in days between date lead created and date closed. Now I know the total amount of time it takes between a lead coming into the business to it closing as one, and I can obviously filter that using the groupings and filter functionality within reports. So now I know how long it takes from a lead all the way to money in the bank. I can then use this for forecasting. So TTLC, so time to lead closed. And then I'll just go ahead and press hide column summary. And on all of these, you want to just restrict the column editing. So you don't really, again, want anyone interfering with these different data points. So restrict column editing. And then we go restrict column editing. And then finally, restrict column editing. Cool. So I'll just get rid of this files column because we're not going to need it. And then we just need to run through the automations. Painfully, we do. This is just, the things we have to do. We've only got to do it once. So automate top right-hand corner, create, manage. When item is created, first and foremost, set date created to today. So set date created, not date. Do not mess around with date lead created, just date created, because date lead created is going to pull from the leads board. And then we want to go ahead and set up our automations for our status. So when status changes to new, move item to group new. This should be fun. And then that's going to load. Status changes again. If only it was a bit quicker, a bit snappier. Move item to group, proposal sent. But no, we have to wait, a few seconds per new automation. When status changes to in negotiation, move to in negotiation, and then what else? What's the next step? I think it's in contract, right? When status changes to in contract, move item to group in contract. Now, I will come on to some clever things that are available in the enterprise version of Monday.com sales CRM that might be worth you knowing. So we then go awaiting payment, move item group, awaiting payment, and then we just need to do closed lost and closed won. So when status changes to closed won, move item to group won. And also just remember this, we are setting the date, set date 1 to today. So date closed. Yeah, that's the one. Same principle applies for lost as well. It's just set date closed to today. So when status changes to lost, move item to group lost, and also set date closed to today, create automation. Awesome. So those are the basics kind of set up now. So now we've set up the automations, what I would then want to look at is what data do we need on our deals board. So some of the information is going to pull, the only real data point that I want to pull from the leads area is the source. So I'd go ahead, just add a new status column, and this is going to be our source here. And then obviously we would populate the options. You know what I'm going to do actually? I'm going to be lazy, and I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to leads, let you into a little trick. You can save a column as a managed column, and then what this essentially means is this, you can go ahead and just create this managed column in other boards. So I know on our accounts here, we had this. I'm just going to go ahead and delete it and then add a managed column of, and then the managed column is going to be source. So now all of the data points automatically pull through. But the other nice thing about this is if you make changes to the managed column, it's going to update on all the boards as well. So it's a way better way of working if you weren't aware of this. And then I will go to my deals board and then manage columns and then go to add board source. You'll see all of those options are available. And then if I edit the managed column, it's going to update on all of the other boards using the managed column, which is exactly what we want. So then the other stuff that I want to look at is, let's say we're going to have a numbers column. This is going to be the deal value. So obviously that's quite an important metric when selling stuff. So deal value, 3 dotted button, settings, customize, currency, whatever that's going to be. You can also on here kind of set your decimal places as well. I actually prefer 2 decimal places. So if I go 5,000 or 50,000, you've got those decimal places there as well, which looks quite nice. Quite nice. Yeah. Cool. And then other stuff that I would probably look to have, let's say status, we would probably want deal type or project type. So this is going to be, again, let's say cheap package. This is just example, by the way. I wouldn't recommend using this naming convention. Medium package, and then expensive package. So then I can report, obviously, what we're selling more of, blah, 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 blah. And again, on the deal side of things, this is now going to be dependent on what you want to track. So as an example, you might actually have a files column. This could be your proposal. This could be the proposal attached to this particular deal. So you might have that sat there, or you don't necessarily need a files column. You could actually just have a link column. So you could link this to your Google Drive. In fact, I'm going to do that instead because I would always typically use a link as opposed to a files column. Files columns are a bit of a pain sometimes. So you'd have that there. You might also have a text column. This is going to be the proposal ref, I don't know. You can add all sorts. It's entirely up to you. Whatever you want to track, it's available to track on here. You can set that up. Now, one nice thing that I did want to show you is, and this is only available on the enterprise version, by the way, I would quite often have a situation where you cannot change the status to, let's say, in contract without, let's say, the proposal reference number being populated. So for an example, as to how we work, we'll have a proposal reference number that's referenced in a contract that's generic, but the contract references the proposal. So essentially whatever is written in the proposal applies with the contract. But there could not be a situation where the contract is sent without a proposal reference number. So within the enterprise version of Monday, you can set something called set label change conditions, which essentially means that when the status is changed to, let's say, in contract, we can make a particular column required. So in this instance, I can make sure that the proposal reference number is containing data. Okay. So I then couldn't change the status to in contract without filling out the proposal reference number. And then I'll press save, and then it would trigger an integration with DocuSign that we would have set up. Again, this is up to you. There's no right or wrong here, but this is kind of up to you how you want to work. Now, the next thing that you then want to look at is obviously connecting your accounts and your contacts to your deal. So a couple of options here. We can just connect the contact if we want to. It does simplify matters somewhat. Alternatively, we can connect the account separate and the contact separate. Up to you. I don't really mind either way. The more I think about it, the less like pros and cons there are to it. So it's kind of up to you. I'd probably do both just in case, I guess. But we go ahead and create 2 connection columns. One connection column is going to be created to our contacts, or contact singular, depends how many contacts are associated with a particular deal. Now, if you wanted to, you could then go ahead and just mirror over the account from the contact board. So that would be relatively simple to do. So that does mean you only need to go ahead and connect the contact. So then you mirror over the account from the contact. Alternatively, if you don't want to do this, all you then need to do is just create another connect boards column. And we would need to connect the deals board to our accounts board as well, create a 2-way connection. We can delete this mirror column now. And then this is going to be the account singular associated with this particular deal, which again, important to note, right? So we then have the contact and the account available here. Awesome. So that's all we really need. So what I might also look to do is I would mirror over data from the contact board, such as, let's say, the email, potentially. So this is the contact email. And then if I associate contact record, it's going to show their email address as well, right? So cool. This is our deals board. You've got other views available to you, such as, let's say, the Kanban view. This is a different way of seeing your deals. Obviously, you've got your different stages of your deal process, as you can see there. But again, this is kind of the basics. More stuff can inevitably and obviously be added dependent on you as a business. But I'm walking you through the entire setup from start to finish. So I can't spend too much time just working on this. Right, so I'm now going to go ahead and delete all of these dummy data points on here. Now, the next thing we need to look at is getting our leads from our leads area when they're qualified to an account, a contact, and a deal record. So how exactly are we going to do this? We have a couple of options. Option number one is we use an item ID. So this is going to be called item ID here. And then this item ID, this very long, unique reference, will allow us to connect to accounts, contacts, and deals. Alternatively, we can use the domain from the email of the lead. So that's our alternative option. The item ID is free of charge. The domain thing, there might be some cost. The reason being is we would use a text column. And then within the text column here, what we would do is go to the three-dotted button, autofill this column, extract text, and we want to go ahead and then extract the domain name from the email address, so the email column. So we're extracting the domain from the email column, as you can see here. nick@crmcrew.com is the email, crmcrew.com is the domain, and we can go ahead and press save and apply. Now, this is the function that I'm going to use. So every single time a new lead record is created, it is going to automatically extract the domain from the email address. Okay, this is going to act as our unique reference number or unique reference of some description. So on the accounts, I would, and I'm just going to adjust this, that's our link to our deals. What I would do is I would add another text column, and then this text column, and this is on our accounts area, is going to be called domain. Okay, this will automatically populate, and we're going to map that data point from leads to accounts. Exactly the same here. So we're on the contacts board. We've got just tidying up that deals connection, but we would go text, and then the text column is going to be, in this particular instance, the domain again. But it's just going to automatically populate, so we don't need to worry about using the AI filters. I'll just put that down here. And then on the deals board, we're going to have to do that on the deals board as well. So we'll have another text column, and then this text column is going to be domain, okay? Again, doesn't need to populate. It doesn't need to be used for AI. All I would do again is just restrict the column editing. The domain automatically going to be pulled through. I would probably do the same on contacts, actually just restrict the column editing. I think I had already done that on accounts. Evidently I hadn't. So you don't really want people messing around with this, okay? So now we have a domain that would be the same on accounts, contacts, and deals. Essentially, this is a means of referencing who people are associated with, right? So now I need to go to my leads board and I need to set up an automation. This automation is going to be when the status is changed to qualified. So this one here, okay? What I would then do is I would delete all of this. So delete all of these different steps, okay? We then want to go ahead and set up the automation. So when a lead is qualified, it's going to create a contact, it's going to create an account, and it's going to create a deal. And then they're all magically going to go ahead and connect to one another, okay? So first and foremost, I'm going to go ahead and create an account. So create item in board. And then this board is going to be our accounts board, okay? So this is going to be this one here. Is it this one? No, this one here, I'm pretty sure. And then the item, all we need to do is map the data points to the account. So date created can go, domain needs to stay, person can go, name's not going to be name, it's going to be the company name. So company name, domain, company size, source. So those data points from the leads area are going to map to the record on the accounts board. And then all we need to do is press done. The next step is we're going to move the item to the group. What we are essentially doing here is we're creating a buffer. Okay, we're creating a buffer between each of the items being created, because there's another automation that we need to run, which if we did them sequentially, so create item in accounts, create item in contacts, create item in deals, then move item to qualified leads. it wouldn't work. And I know this because I've suffered, or at least had to test this and work this out and find this out on my own. So save yourself a bit of pain. So then what we're going to do is we're going to create an item in the board, and then this board is going to be contacts. Okay, so contacts. And that's going to be that one there. Now we're going to map data points from the leads area to the contacts area. So name's going to be fine. Person we can get rid of. Domain we want to keep. We know that first name and last name are going to automatically populate from the AI function that we set up. Email, phone, and source are going to automatically map over. As we can see, that's already connected. And date created we do not need. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and press done. Then what we're going to do is we're going to set the date. Set date qualified or un/qualified to today. Then what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to create item in board. And in this board, it's going to be our deals board. And then this over obviously our deals here. And then we need to map the data points that we need from our deal to, or map the data points from our lead, in fact, to our deal. Now, what I would do in this particular instance is I would do the name of the lead, or actually I would probably personally do company name. So I'll go company name dash and then lead name, which is the name of the actual lead. Okay, that's probably what I would do personally. There we go. Then person we don't need. Status we don't want to map across. Deal value we don't. Proposal no. Proposal ref no. Project type no. Source yes. Date created no. Date lead created. So date created on the leads board map to date lead created on the deals board yes. And then all we need to go ahead and do is press done. Again, I almost missed that. Actually, you got domain as well. So go ahead and then press done. And then go ahead and press update automation. We are making progress. We've not even got onto the project side of things yet. So I'm going to go ahead and close that down. So it's important to note the order in which we did this. Okay. We went account first, then contact, then deal. So what we then need to go ahead and do is go to our contacts board and go to automate, then create and manage. Okay. And then we need to search when item created, connect, and then we're looking for this automation. When an item is created in this board, connect the item where this column, the domain, matches this column, the domain, in the accounts board by this logic. So we need to go ahead and click this and set it up. So first and foremost, select the other board. This is going to be the accounts board, okay? So this automation connects the contact record to the accounts record. This column is going to be your domain. This column is also going to be your domain. And then we're going to set it up via the connection column, okay? And then just go ahead and press create automation. That was actually pretty easy. Now we've got to do the same for deals. Now, if you only connected to contacts, you only have to do this once, and then you mirrored over the account like I showed you initially. If you connected to both, you've got to do this twice. When item created, connect. There we go. So when an item is created in this board, connect this item, the item where this column matches this column, in another board. So the other board in this instance, let's start with contacts. So let's assume you just did contacts, right? So that this column is going to be domain. This column is going to be the domain on the deals board, and then connect via the connection column that we created. Awesome. Now, if you did a separate connect board for contacts and a separate for accounts, we're going to do the same again. So create item connect is what we're searching for. When an item is created in this board, connect the item where this column matches in another board. The other board being the accounts. Yes. This column being domain, this column being domain, connect via the connection column that we created. Create automation. Awesome. So now we have got no deals, no contacts, we have no accounts, and we have one singular lead who is moi. All I'm going to go ahead and do is change the status from new to qualified. If everything has worked smoothly, which you never know if it has or hasn't, what should happen is a new account record should be created, a new contact record should automatically be created. The automation should run to automatically connect the contact to the account, which it has done here. And then a new deal record should also be created with the naming convention and also connect to the contact and the account all via the domain column, which it has, which is a miracle. It's a miracle. Congratulations. We've done it. So now we have completed the leads to accounts, contacts, and deal setup. What do we got to think about next? Well, obviously project management, because a deal gets won, a project is created. There are then tasks associated with our projects as well. So that's something that we need to take into consideration. And there's the whole project process and blah, 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 blah. So next thing that we're going to go ahead and look at is creating a projects board. So plus button, top left-hand corner, board is going to be projects, privacy main. What we're managing in this board is the projects board. So this board here, again, is going to be for the management of the projects, which are essentially the deals that have been won. So we're going to have new projects up the top here. We're then going to go ahead and have active projects. We are then going to go ahead and have completed projects. I mean, if you're still watching this video, I applaud you. Thank you for enduring my voice for so long. Hopefully this is helpful. New projects, active projects, completed projects, and then I would have another group just like cancelled, postponed, delayed projects. So I'll just go cancelled / postponed projects. So those are our different stages of the project process. Again, we create them in the groups first. Then we're going to go ahead and set up the status. So we'd have new, we would then go ahead and we would have active, we would then go ahead and have completed, we would then go ahead and have cancelled / postponed. Awesome. So those are our different stages of the project process. Again, this is pretty self-explanatory, right? That's all done. We would then have, again, I would go date created. I would obviously also go date completed, or I would probably do just date completed. I wouldn't worry too much about the cancel / postpone stuff. So just go date completed, and then I would just want a formula to see on average how long it takes to complete a project. So give me the difference in days between date created and date completed. Hit enter. There we go. Set formula, insert, set formula, and then I'll call this TTC, and then hide the column summary, and then restrict the column editing on all three of these, restrict, and then go ahead and restrict again, and then go ahead and restrict again. So those are all kind of data points that we want to track, again, just for reporting purposes. Now automate. We need to automate the item created. It's literally the same again, right? You're used to this by now. So create automation. Well, I don't think anyone could ever get used to this, but when item is created, set date, date created to today, date created, there we go. And then we're looking at the status change automation. So when status changes to new, move item to group, new, create automation. And then again, when status changes to active, move item to group, active, create automation. When status changes to completed, move item to group, completed. And then when status changes to cancel / postponed. Actually, I've just forgotten something. We'll have to come back to that. When status changes to cancel / postponed, move item to group, cancel / postponed. I was in a trance then, just running through the motions. On the completed, we obviously also want to set the date completed to today as well. So set date completed to today, update automation. So now our automations are done for our project. One other thing that we are going to need, of course, is the text column, which is going to be the domain, because what we need to do is we need to automatically link the contact and the account, and probably even the deal, to the project as well. So I would have this on here. For the time being, we'll just add it nonetheless, restrict the column editing. Then it's a case of looking at the data points that you want to track on your projects board. So one thing that I think would be worth having is the project type. I would also probably want the proposal and the proposal ref. For let's say this is the ops team or delivery team. So I would have a link column. This is going to be the proposal. So they can I might not actually need the proposal ref. I might just need the proposal. I definitely want the status that is, I think I called it deal type or project type. That's awesome. So we'll just have here project type. And then I think we had the three options: cheap, medium, expensive. So we go cheap package, project. Oh, I can't remember what I called it actually. Bear with me. Project, cheap package. It was package. Package, and then we go medium package, and then expensive package. There we go. So those are our different options. We can go ahead and delete that as well, and then I would just go ahead and reposition this here. So active, different status options, project type, proposal. If there's any other data we need on the deals area, of course, we can pull it across as well. One thing that probably would actually be worth having is the deal value, or at least the project value. So I would pull that across, be a numbers column. The reason I would want something like this is then I can report on, and again, I'm not going to cover that in this video, but we could then look at project revenue minus project cost, which is by billable. And then we could look at project profit, which again, obviously really important and very interesting, and also rarely tracked for whatever reason. So project revenue, and then we have a cost, and that could be via time submissions associated with cost per employee. That would then roll up to the project, and then we would be able to take the revenue minus their cost, giving us the gross profit of the project. Obviously very helpful. We can then distinguish by profitability by project type. Another actually good point thing you might want to distinguish by is project by source. Now this is quite an interesting data point. I've actually decided that this is worth tracking. The reason being, if this is going to work, Monday didn't like that for whatever reason. I have had this experience in the past where we have won projects from sources that it's like consistently, and this, I would say this is actually from Facebook. So we've won projects from Facebook ads before. Obviously 95% of our business comes through YouTube, but we run some Facebook ads, and the people that we're dealing with and the type of projects that we're working on they just tend to be an absolute disaster. So I would rather know for certain that, we're less profitable by Facebook ads, or more profitable, or this has gone wrong, or blah, 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 blah. So that's definitely worth having. Just add it there. Why not? No reason not to. So now we have our projects. What we then need to think about is, how do we manage the tasks associated with a particular project? Okay, so this is, let's say, cancelled. Let's say this is active. Let's say this is completed. And we can go ahead and we'll change that to completed as well. And we'll change that to cancel, change that to new, move that to the top. So we've got a few different projects on here. I'm going to go ahead and delete them in a minute anyway. What we would then want to go ahead and do is manage the tasks associated with the project. So new board again. This board is going to be called tasks, and then the naming convention is tasks create board. Then what we're going to go ahead and do, excuse me, is we are going to set up our tasks board. This is going to be, I'll keep this relatively rudimentary. Again, and I also want to emphasize, if I didn't mention this already, on the projects board, you can add whatever you want. This is just the framework. So tasks, I would have to-do tasks, doing tasks, and done tasks. Tasks, again, super simple. Done tasks, right? Different stages of the process. So done would be in green, to do would be in the gray, and then we can go ahead and edit label. So to do, and then doing, and then done, and that would be the green. Awesome. So then we go ahead, click in, change that, hide this, or at least delete that label. Now we've got different status options. Again, that was really easy. Groupings, easy. Status, easy. You know what I'm going to do next. Date created. And then I'm going to have another date column. And this date column is going to be date done, date closed, date completed, whatever you want to call it. And then I want a formula. Formula is going to work out the difference in days between date created and date completed. Give me the difference in days between date created and date completed. Hit enter, set formula, and then insert, set formula, and then I'll call this TTC. Hide the column summary and then restrict the column editing. Just the standard stuff here, restrict the column editing. And also we want to go ahead, restrict the column editing here and restrict the column editing on here as well. So date created, date completed, time to close. We've then got different status options. We then need to go ahead and set up the automation. So automate top right hand corner, manage, create automation. When an item is created, set date. We've done this so many times now. Set date created to today. Fortunately, there are not a great deal of status options here. So when the status changes to do, move item, to group, to do, create automation. Then when status changes to doing, when status changes to doing, move item, to group, doing, create automation. And then when status obviously changes to done, we've got two steps there. So when status changes to done, move item, to group, done, and also set date completed to today. So set date completed to today, create automation. So those are obviously the different stages of the process. Now we need to think about what data do we want to track on our task level. So we would need another date column, lo and behold, and I'll call this due date. I spelt both of those wrong. Due date, and then press the three dotted button, go to settings, set as a deadline, and then I'd associate with both the status and the person column. So now Monday.com recognizes this as being a due date. I would also have another column, and this is going to be your task type. So quite often there are different task types, whether it be a marketing task, a finance task, etc., etc. Having a status column to easily track that, I would strongly recommend. So we go finance, we go admin, and this is obviously, again, very dependent on you as a business, but task types are very helpful. So it could be, in our instance, dev versus, let's say, Monday setup. Those are two slightly different things within inside of the organization or our business. So we would want to distinguish between those task types. I'll probably also want, let's say, like a long text column. So this is just, let's say, a task description. And then if there's anything else that you need, you are more than welcome to add it. Okay, so that's the basic, very basic setup of tasks. Now within a task, I would also often have sub items. So this would, let's say, be example sub item number 1. Hit enter. Again, how you choose to set this up is up to you. So I have probably doing done for the sub items as well within the status, doing, and then done, and then three dotted button, delete, apply. So you've got your different stages. Within sub items, this is especially useful. If you're not familiar with the sub items, essentially they are tasks of a task. We can then go ahead, press the three dotted button and go show summary on parent items. So now I can see the summary of the status of all the sub items associated with this particular parent item. On the date column, I would probably have due date. And then I'll go three dotted button, settings, set as deadline, select column, owner again, connect columns. And then if there are any other data points as well, such as you want task type for sub items as well, you can go ahead and of course add those. So definitely the utilization of sub items in this setup is going to be important. So we then have the automations, the basic data. Now what we need to look at is associating our tasks with our projects. So what I would do is I would go ahead and press add column, connect boards, connect our tasks to our projects. So we'll go ahead and select projects, create a two-way connection, connect boards. Okay. So now every single task is going to have every single task, yes, is going to have a project associated with them. So on this board here, you'll have all of your tasks for all of your different projects. And then what you can do is you can filter by the project, you can filter by the task type, you can filter by the account if you wanted to. We can get quite complicated with these things. So now we have the connection between the projects and the tasks. If I go to my project board, and because we create a two-way connection, I'll be able to see all of the tasks associated with this particular project. So we've got tasks here, and then obviously we can go ahead and connect tasks to the project. So let's then run through some automations on the project side for the creation of tasks, because this is quite important. Okay, tasks quite often can be created dependent on project type. You might also have some standard tasks as well. So the way I would do this is I would go to automate, create automation. When an item is created, then create item in board and connect boards. So in this particular instance, imagine that this is for every single time a new project is created, irrespective. So irrespective of the project type, these tasks have to be done for this particular project. Okay, so we would go ahead and we would select the tasks board that we're creating the item in, and then we're going to use the connection column that we've already got established between the projects and the tasks. And then the item is going to be whatever we want it to be. So we would remove all of these data points, and then here I would have, let's say, I'll just remove this quickly. Example task number 1, and then you could write in, let's say on the task type, this is a marketing task. You can add, this is the task description as an example, and then go ahead and press done. You can then go ahead and do exactly the same, and you can have multiple or as many tasks as you would like for this setup. So create item in board and connect boards. So the board again is going to be tasks, connection via the connect boards column that we've already got set up. And then the item is going to be, let's say, example task number 2. So we'd remove all of the data points that Monday have decided to set up themselves. Sometimes it's useful, sometimes it's not. And then this is going to be example task number two. Again, task type, let's say this is admin. Task description, this is important admin task. So now, if I just go ahead and press done, and imagine in a beautiful world, there are only 2 tasks that ever need to be done when a new project is created, which would be fantastic. And then just go ahead and press create automation. Every time a new project record is created, it's going to automatically connect or create 2 tasks on the tasks board and then connect them back to the project as well, which is really important to note. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete these, or delete all of these project options we have, and all of the tasks as well, just get rid of those. So that's kind of that setup now. Every single time a new project. However, you might have tasks that need to be created dependent on the project type. So you'll remember on the deals board, we had a project type, cheap, medium, and expensive package. So what we can also do is create variations. So I would go automate, and then we want where did my automation go? Please tell me it's saved. Yeah, no. I don't think it did, I don't think it did. Oh, that's a shame. That's because we're on the task board. Oh, I've fallen asleep here. Terrible. There we go. So when item is created, create an item. Yeah, so that's the one that we're looking for. But if there are variations in the tasks that need to be done, or we've got our standard block of tasks, irrespective for every single project, and then there are variations of tasks depending on the project type, we can then go ahead and press 3-dotted button, duplicate, and then go ahead and add a filter. And we can say when an item is created, and only if status project type is equal to expensive package, then we could go ahead and create, let's say, expensive package task number 1. And then I'll leave that all the same, right? And then we would go ahead and we would have exactly the same here, expensive package task number 2. Obviously, the naming convention that you use, the actual task names are going to be entirely different, but you can add more as well. So just add the same. So create item in board and connect board. So the board being the tasks board, connect via projects with tasks, and then expensive package task number 3. So we would remove all of these data points here, and then it would be expensive package task number. I can tell this video is starting to get long now. My brain is dwindling. Task type being finance, I think, was one of the options, and then just go ahead and press done and then create automation. So you can create variables dependent on project type. You can create variables dependent on other things as well. So now we've got that set up, we've got our active deal. We then want to go ahead and convert the deal to a project, which would also then create our tasks. So what I would then recommend we do is we create, and I think there is value in having a connection between the deals and the projects. So I know which deal this particular project is associated with. So on the deals board, you can do this on the projects board as well. I would then connect boards, connect the deal to the project. So we go ahead and create a two-way connection. So this is the project associated with this particular deal. Now from the deal side, you're never ever going to use this column. This is only really going to become applicable on the project side, and again there would only ever be one deal associated, and also I would restrict the column editing as well. So what I would then do on the deal side is automate, create automation. When status changes to, and then in this instance is going to be 1, we want to go ahead and create item in board and connect board. So very similar to what we were doing with the task setup. The board we're creating it in, though, in this instance is going to be the projects board. So it'd be this projects board. And then we are using the connection column that we just established a moment ago, connecting the deal to the project via that connection column. And then we just need to map the data points from the deal to the project. Now the naming convention for the deal, I'm already happy with. Person we can remove, status we can remove, project revenue we would probably want to map as deal value, project type would map to project type, proposal to proposal, that's the link column, source to source is fine. Day created, would we need it? Would we not? No, obviously not. Actually thinking about it, I don't know. I'm very much slowing down now. So we've then got those options, and then we can go ahead and press create automation. So now And what we could have also done, by the way, is when status changes to 1, move item to group close 1 and set date close to today. And in fact, that's probably the better thing to do, but I've done it now, so it is what it is. So in a perfect world, when the status changes to 1, subject to all this working, it's going to create the project record, and also, depending on the project type, it's going to create the tasks as well. Now you'll notice that within here, there is no project type selected. So I'm just going to go ahead and select the expensive package because I know that's what we've got set up. Actually, just one thing to note, did we map the domain to the domain on the deal? So let's just go and check that. So when the status 1 item, I don't think we did. Oh no, we did. That was done automatically. Fantastic. Cool. So what we would then do, and this is where we've got a couple of options, because we've created the connection column between the deals and the projects. Hypothetically and realistically, it's probably easiest that we just mirror over the contact and the account from the deal onto the project. So I'm going to leave it at that. But if we want to, we can automatically connect the contact and the account to the project directly, as opposed to via a mirror column. But I'm going to do it via a mirror column because I don't think there's a real reason to do it any other way. Probably not anyway. So I would connect the mirror column to the deal column on the projects board. Then I'm going to mirror it over the contacts. So deal contact, so contact. And then I'll add another mirror column. And this is going to be connect deal. And then this is going to be for the account. So now I can see the account and the contact associated with this particular deal, who would probably be my point of contact for the project. Now, if your point of contact for the project is different, it would be easier to connect directly to the contact record via the domain, or you can switch that around. Again, we're getting into more complex areas or complex territory now, or more nuance, shall we say. So if I then go ahead and change the status of my deal to 1, it should create a new item on the projects board, automatically connect itself to itself, hopefully, which it has done, pulled over the account and the contact. This should then trigger the automations of the tasks to be created, both the standard tasks and also tasks variable on that being an expensive package project type. I should then be able to go to my tasks board. I can see all of the tasks that have been created, the task type, the descriptions. I can see the status, and then the project that these particular tasks relate to. Obviously, I can then change the status to done, etc., etc., etc. But that's pretty much it. So deal 1, project created, tasks automatically populated. We can then obviously also assign people to different tasks. The best way to do that is via the task type. So if it's a marketing task, then X person gets assigned. If it's admin, Y person gets assigned, etc., etc. Due dates can be automatically populated. Again, there's a lot of nuance around all of this. So I'm probably not going to go into too much detail in this video today, but hopefully this all makes sense of how we run through from a lead to a deal to a project, and then obviously the tasks associated with that project and all the in between, the accounts, contacts, the automations, the setup, the way this functions. This is a huge amount of information that's just been dumped on your desk. Hopefully, I mean, if you've made it to this part of the video, congratulations. But that's pretty much everything you need to know. Leads to accounts, contacts, deals to projects, to tasks. Obviously, and hopefully this is obvious, this can go way further. This can be expanded way, way more. This is just scratching the surface of what's possible, but this is the best way to do it. With the projects and tasks, it's an infinitely scalable solution. With the sales pipeline, the sales process, it's really easy to manage, but there's so much nuance in every component of this, even accounts, even contacts, deals, projects, tasks, task management, sub items associated with tasks, the auto population of sub items, and then you're looking at reporting as well. So there is obviously a lot to this. Hopefully this makes sense. Has walked you through at least the basic setup. Now, if you would like us to help you set up Monday.com for your business, we would absolutely love to help. So check out the link in the description below. We can go through your setup, how we think things would work, and kind of how we would set things up, and then we would go from there. But hopefully this video has been helpful. If you've got any questions, comments, concerns, drop a comment in the comment section below. I'll do my best to get back to you. If you do need any help, check out the link in the description below. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.